when I first moved to France, everything was new and different. Now, things have started to become normal for me. In this video, I want to share with you several of the things that I've become accustomed to and don't even notice anymore. Some of the things that I've become accustomed to and notice a little bit, but I'm okay with, and some of the things that I'm accustomed to, but don't like at all. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so that each time I upload a video about life in France, moving abroad, or finding the confidence and courage to live life on your terms, you'll be notified. I'm Patricia Brooks, and in 2018, I quit my job as a project manager in Richmond, Virginia, and I moved to the south of France to find myself. I really wasn't sure what was next. I just knew what was next had to do with my living in France. And so I did it. And I explored and kind of figured some things out the first couple of years. And now I am working to support women who are looking to make a move abroad confidently and sustainably do so. In this video, I want to share with you several of the things that I've gotten used to and don't notice anymore, and several of the things that I've gotten used to and notice, but keep on moving. All right. The first thing has to do with eggs. Yes, eggs. When I first got to France, the fact that eggs are not refrigerated here surprised me. In the U.S., all eggs are refrigerated. You need to refrigerate eggs in the U.S., but here in France, you don't have to. And so I would go grocery shopping, come home with my dozen eggs, and I would go to put them in the refrigerator. Now, that is not a thing. I just come home and I put them on the counter, and that is that. It's not anything I even think about anymore. So I have definitely gotten used to the idea that eggs don't need to be refrigerated, at least here in France. The second thing still has to do with eggs. I was surprised because all of the eggs here seem to be brown eggs. All the eggs I see at markets or at supermarkets are brown. And this was surprising to me because in the United States, it's completely the reverse. You go to a grocery store, all the eggs seem to be white. Why is it that eggs in the United States seem to be white and eggs in France seem to be brown? I don't know. I'm used to it now. I go to the store, I check my eggs, they're brown. I don't even give it a second thought, except around Easter time when I think, oh, what do the children here in France do when they need to dye Easter eggs? In the U.S., we have this tradition of buying this little kit. I remember the brand Paz, and it had little dyes, and you'd mix it with vinegar, and then you'd soak your hard-boiled eggs in them. And then your eggs would turn red or blue, or you could put little designs on it, and it was so much fun. But with brown eggs, is that possible? And is that even a thing here in France? If you are French or you know the answer to that, can you let me know in the comments? So egg situation was something I was surprised with before, but now, okay, eggs don't need to be refrigerated and they're brown here. Okay. So the second thing that I had to get used to has to do with spoons. Yes. Utensils, eating utensils. I rented an Airbnb for my first apartment, and so it was fully furnished. I didn't bring my own utensils from the United States, and so I opened the cutlery drawer, and they had spoons, but the spoons were just really big. They didn't seem to have what we call teaspoons in the United States, what I would eat my cereal with. They had these bigger size spoons that were a little bit awkward to use at first. Now I open the drawer, I take out the spoon, and I eat my oatmeal with it. And it's not a big deal. But initially, it's like, why are the spoons here so doggone big? I will say also that here they have these cute little spoons that I guess are used for putting sugar in coffee or tea, or maybe even scooping out jam. So we talked about eggs and we talked about spoons. This has to do with eating as well. And while I might eat my lunch around 1 p.m. and not the normal 12 p.m. that many French people do, I eat my dinners later than I would in the United States or did in the United States. In the United States, I'd eat dinner maybe around 5:30 or 6 p.m. Here, now that I've been in France for 5 years, somehow my dinner hour has gotten later. It's more in line with French culture. I eat around 7 or 7:30 p.m. And I don't really know why my nighttime eating schedule has been pushed back, because I don't eat out at restaurants a lot, which could cause that to happen because restaurants don't serve dinner until a certain time. But somehow or other, my dinner hour has shifted to be more in line with French customs. And if you're coming to France and you're traveling on a trip, you may want to note that as well, that, you might show up at a restaurant at 6 o'clock and they might be like, oh, well, you can have drinks now, but we're not serving dinner until 7. So it's something interesting to know. I've also gotten used to the wind here. Now, when I first got to Perpignan, and you can probably hear my shutters moaning in the wind right now as I try to shoot this video. When I first got to France, I was not aware that there was this wind that they call the tramontane here in my region. But there is, and it comes, and it typically stays for 3 days or 5 or 6 days or 7 or 9 days or something like that. It's not like one day and it's done. Today, it is really windy. When I first arrived in Perpignan, it was January, it was wintertime, and I wasn't aware of this. So one day the wind came. And it was winter, and it was cold. And I remember seeing the palm trees on the streets just kind of fighting with the wind, and they were like this. And to me, that was like, wow, this must be what it's like to be in Chicago, because that's not where I'm from. I wasn't used to the wind. Now I am. I'm more accustomed to the wind, and now that I'm not in Perpignan proper, I'm a little further closer to the Pyrenees. That kind of buffers the wind a little bit, so it's not as strong, or at least that's what they tell me. It feels pretty strong here too. And I'm more used to it because I used to say, oh, what a pretty day it is. And if the wind was howling, I wouldn't take that into account, right? It might be sunny and it might be bright blue skies, but the wind is howling and like dust is flying all over the place. That's not a pleasant day to be out and about. Now I know, it's probably not the best day to go for a walk. All right. So I have become accustomed to that. In your travels or in your life abroad, what are some things that used to surprise you but no longer do? Let me know in the comments. Before you move to a foreign country, it is a good idea to start to learn what some of the cultural norms are. And one great way to do that is by watching TV shows and documentaries about the country that you are planning to move to. And a great way to learn about French customs and cultures is by watching France Channel, which I have the pleasure of being in partnership with. France Channel is the #1 international streaming platform for content dedicated to France, French culture, and entertainment. They have the largest library of French TV shows, series, movies, children's programming, live international news, and documentaries that help you to learn about France and their culture through cooking and travel and fashion and art and history and so much more. So if you're interested in really digging in and learning more about France and French culture and doing it in a way that is entertaining, then France Channel could be for you. And fortunately, the folks at France Channel have given me a promo code that will allow you to subscribe monthly or annually at a 15% discount. And so that promo code is Patricia15. I'm going to put that along with the link to Fran's channel in the description so you can check it out and take advantage of that if you are inclined to. All right. So back to some things that surprised me before, but I'm more accustomed to now. So my first year and a half year, I was a little bit surprised when I would see children out and about in parks or in grocery stores, teenagers hanging out in parks on Wednesdays. And I didn't understand that because in the United States, we go to school Monday through Friday, unless there's a holiday, and that's that. But I asked my friend Jordi, what's going on with that? And he said, oh yeah, here in this region and in other regions of France, Wednesdays is a day off. And that was something that, really startled me when I would see kids in the grocery store. Now I go to the grocery store on Wednesday, or I go out and I see kids at a park. I'm like, oh, it must be Wednesday. So that has something I have gotten used to. One thing that I am still getting used to is the school calendar. You might be asking yourself, why in the world, Patricia, would you need to know when schools are on vacation? You don't have children, you're not teaching, you're not taking classes. Why does that matter to you? Well, I do have a couple of activities that I participate in. One is flute lessons, and the second is Qigong. Now, with the flute lessons, I can really see why I would need to know when the school breaks are, because it is a music school and children are participating in this activity. So they are in line with the school calendar. Makes complete sense to me. In the United States, that wouldn't really be a thing because if you were a student in school, you probably would be taking up an instrument in elementary school. So when the school had a break, you'd have a break. So it wouldn't really be that thing that you'd go necessarily to a separate place from your school. However, the other activity I participate in is Qigong. And none of those folks are in school or even working anymore. They're all retired. Yet we follow the same calendar year as the school. And that may be because the grandparents, or if parents were taking part in this activity, may want to take vacation along with their grandkids or their kids. So that makes sense to me. I haven't quite gotten used to exactly when the school holidays are. And so I have to be alert and kind of make sure that I ask so that I'm not showing up on weeks where there is no class because there's no school. So that is something that I am still working to get accustomed to and know, but not having been raised here and really gotten into a rhythm like that, it's taking me a little bit longer. Now, these last two items are things that I'm used to, but I don't particularly like. First one is public urination, men peeing in public. This really surprised me when I got to France. My second weekend, I'm just walking down one of the side streets in Perpignan. It's a bright, sunny day, midday, broad daylight, and I'm walking down and I see a guy standing there, and I'm just walking, and I'm walking on the same sidewalk he's peeing on, and I realize I see this stream, and I realize what's happening, and I was disgusted, and I was surprised. A couple weeks later, something similar happened. I still startled. But now, if I see a man standing on a sidewalk or near a bush outside in broad daylight, I just assume that he's probably doing his business. And while it doesn't surprise me anymore, it doesn't make me happy. So while I'm used to it, I don't like it. And finally, the last thing that I am used to but don't necessarily like is that here in some public restrooms, there are no toilet seats. That's right. No toilet seats. Now, that's not everywhere. Some public restrooms do have toilet seats, but others don't. I was at the mall 3 weeks ago, and they had renovated their bathrooms, and they had new toilet bowls. And on these toilet bowls were ne'er a toilet seat. No toilet seat whatsoever. And I remember when I was still in the States and I hadn't even really hatched this idea to move to France, a friend visited Italy and she said that she loved her trip. She had a great time. But one thing that really surprised her was that in some of the public restrooms, there were no toilet seats on the toilets. And so that's what I'm finding here, at least in the south of France. I don't know if this is everywhere in France or just here in the south, but yeah, that's something that I know when I open a stall door that there may or may not be a toilet seat. And the idea that I have to squat doesn't necessarily make me happy. But I'm used to the idea of no toilet seats on some toilets in public restrooms. So this has been kind of a fun video. I hope that you've enjoyed this lighter video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.